Hello guys and welcome to Savannah Essence. Today we are making a triple butter activated charcoal soap. Yes, that seems like a mouthful, right? So we're making a normal triple butter soap. A triple butter soap simply means a soap made with 3 different butters, and then we are mixing activated charcoal into the soap. So that makes it a triple butter activated charcoal soap, right? So to start off, and this is a beginner friendly recipe. So if you're a beginner, this will be a very good recipe for you to try. What we are doing in this particular video is to not only make a beginner soap, but also make a very beautiful beginner friendly looking soap. Well, not beginner friendly looking soap, but you are able to make a design that whether you are a pro or you are a beginner, you can make. That gives your soap a very beautiful appearance, gives it this artistic appeal that I know that a lot of beginner soap makers usually want to do, but they are not able to do. So I started off by prepping the lye water and everything is done. Now I'm going to start measuring my butters. So for this triple butter soap, we are using shea butter, cocoa butter, and coconut oil. Now it is an equal part of the butter, of the 3 butters. So usually people just say it's a 33.3% soap. So everything is 33.3 gives you usually a 99% oil quantity. So I've just measured my shea butter, I've measured my cocoa butter, and then I'm going to melt it. Fortunately for me, the coconut oil that I use, or coconut oil based on where I live, is always a liquid. My temperatures are usually higher than the melting point of coconut oil. So coconut oil in where I live here in Ghana is always going to be a liquid all year round because it's very hot here. So my oils have been melted, my shea butter, my cocoa butter have been melted. So I'm not going to add my coconut oil to it and then make, and then you have a completed oil face. So that's my coconut oil. Again, another 33.3% of it, just measured beautifully and added to the other butters. And then I'll start with the actual soap making process. So to do that, I'll pour in my lye, which is now fully dissolved into the water, into the oil, and then starts the mixing process. So for this, because of the kind of design that I want to make, again, like I said, this is a beginner friendly soap. So whether you have the necessary tools or not, you should still be able to make this. So we are not stick blending it because we want the soap to be very, very fluid. Now in here is my activated charcoal that I've already prepped in my oil. And then I'm sort of now mixing my butter. I'm just pouring my butter into it to mix it, to give it the activated charcoal portion of it. What I'm also doing in this particular soap is trying to get a very brown contrast. So I'm adding a brown to the cream, which is the natural color of the soap, to the black. And to get the brown, I'm not adding any additives. I only have a fragrance oil that discolors my soap. So the fragrance oil has vanilla in it, and it turns my soap into brown. And I think I've spoken about that in the how to make the carrot soap video. So if you haven't seen that, you can see that. Also, if you haven't seen how to, you don't know how to properly disperse your powders usually into your oil, I'll link my other activated charcoal soap making video as well. You can have a look at that on how I disperse activated charcoal in an oil. So these are my 3 butters. So I have my activated charcoal, which has some fragrance. Then I have my normal butter, which I have added a fragrance to it that I hope will discolor. And then I have my normal butter that I have not added any fragrance to it, and so it will still have the same cream color that this butter generates. So basically that is how I'm going to make the soap. So there are 3 color contrasts, all obtained, not adding anything difficult, but just learning how to the pros and learning having the soap making skill to be able to know what to do at what time. So like, again, like I said, I want to get this nice zebra-ish looking soap, but I also wanted to have this beautiful color contrast. And so to do that, I'm tilting my soap mold to be able to do this. Tilting your soap mold can give you a lot of design. So you can use this for this particular butter, for this particular design. You can use this for your wood grain soaps. You can use this for your line sort of. So you can use this in a lot of techniques. So what I'm doing is gently pour in the butter through the edge or the edge of the mold, and so bit by bit. I don't want the lines to be too small, and so that's why I'm using these cups. So I'm pouring them small but not too small, so that the lines are visible. I want the lines to be visible. So one after the other, you pour in the black, pour in the cream, then you pour in the brown. Now the fragrance oil that will discolor the soap will not immediately be seen, so it will look like you are pouring two different colors. But once the soap hardens and then it starts to sort of oxidize or react with the oxygen in the air, you see that part will start turning brown, and you see it when I finally cut this soap and leave it for a couple of days. So basically that is how I'm going to make this soap. And like I said, this is beginner friendly. If you are a beginner, you can easily make this soap. It's not that complicated. Now let me talk briefly about the triple butter soap. I remember when I first started soap making, the triple butter recipe was one of the most famous recipes here on YouTube that a lot of pro soap makers used to use as a go-to, especially for beginners. So we had a lot of triple butter soap. We had this equal parts oil soap in a lot of videos. But of late, I don't see it, and I don't know why. I remember my first video, I think I watched it on the Soap Queen TV channel or something, and she was doing that. It's a simple soap. You just pick your 3 butters, and the percentage is 33.3. Just make another one, maybe 33.4, so you can get your 100% if you are stickler for rules. But you can also just make it 33.3%. And then you add your super fats to it, so that means that it still balances out anyway. And it's a simple soap, you can make it at any time, and it's such a good soap to make because the butters, cocoa butters, shea butter gives you this conditioning, rich, creamy texture, which is excellent. Now you have coconut oil. Again, for people with dry skin, 33.3% of coconut oil might look like it's a lot, but I think that what works well is that these butters sort of mix very well with it. So shea butter and coconut oil are also here in a very high percentage. These are now in 66.6%, which is very high. So it sort of balances the dryness of the coconut oil and gives you a very good bowl soap. And so it's a very good soap for if you're a beginner. So the beginner go-to recipes are the 100% coconut oil soap, the coconut oil, the shea butter coconut oil soap, the triple butter soap, and there's another one I'll be sharing recently. Those are I'll be sharing later on. Those are simple recipes that if you're a beginner, I recommend you start playing around with, and you would enjoy it. So I just wanted to just go back. We are all beginners anyway. We are all still learning. We are all in the journey of learning. It's just that if some people have a lot of soap making under their belt. They've made a lot of mistakes. So you always good to learn from such people. So I like to watch a lot of soap making videos here on YouTube. I like to also belong to a lot of soap making because I think that helps me to learn a lot. Okay, so let me stop blabbing. So once the butter gets almost full, you see that I didn't just take off the layer, the one that I used to tilt the mold, all at the same time. I took a little bit of it, so it's still a little bit tilted, but the butter is gradually shifting to where it's supposed to go to. And then finally I'll just take the last rag underneath it, and then it will sit perfectly like that. So what happened in this particular soap making is that I wanted to show the brown color showing really well. So I've made this two of them, but 3 days apart. So this is the first one. Then after 3 days I made another one. So I'll also be showing you how the freshly cut one is, and then after it's been in the open for some number of days, how it finally looks like, so that you have a better appreciation of how a fragrance can either mess your soap up, or how you can take advantage of some fragrance oil to work for you, because we buy these things with our monies. And in case you didn't know, and you buy it and it discolors your soap, what will you do? Will you throw it away? No, it just discolors it. That doesn't mean that it's bad. So you now have to learn how to play around with it. Don't make the mistake of using it in a soap that you want some very nice vibrant colors, like the way I used this particular fragrance in my carrot oil soap. That's a soap that should have been a little bit yellow or orange into a brown looking color, such that when someone buys a carrot soap and then they get a brown soap, they're like, but this doesn't look like a carrot soap, you see. Yeah. Okay, so we are done with the pour, and then at this point I'm just going to clean up and then get on with the rest of the So if you remember in the last video, I did indicate that I'm going to be doing a lot of these designs using these natural colorants, so that we all have an appreciation. So this is one simple design that you can make on top of your soap. The pour is a simple beginner design, and then this also is what I like to call my 8 kalanga. You just draw a little bit of 8 on top of the soap and just take it through. In the middle of it, just take the same through. For those of you from Ghana, that is a broomstick. That is a hard broomstick, the one we used to sweep outside. Just pick one. I washed it and then I put it aside, and that's what I used to make my designs. You can use a kebab stick as well and use that to make your swirls. Okay, there's a lot of improvisation in soap making. So this is the first soap that I made, and then 3 days later I made another one, and then you see that. But this is how the design came together. It looks very nice and beautiful. So the next day I'll mold it and then I'll cut it. I decided to cut the cotton of this soap off because it was becoming a bit longer, and so I'll show the cut of the other soap that I made 3 days later, so that we don't drag on with the video. But this is the first soap, and this is how this particular soap looks like. Once you see it, it looks very beautiful. It has this nice zebra, and at this point you don't see any discoloration, right? It still looks the same, black and cream color, no brown, nothing. This is because it hasn't still oxidized. There's no reaction with the air or with oxygen, and so it still looks normal. and so I'll leave it for another 3 days, and then you get an appreciation of how the color will change. But just this is basically, and this is how it looks. This is a beautiful soap. If you're a beginner, you're able to make this. Imagine how the kind of photos you can take with this. My little niece says it's a zebra with this zebra looking soap. It's a simple design, but it's very beautiful and very nice. Okay, so now let me show you the other okay, let me just have a look at that. Okay, now let me show you the other one that I made 3 days after. So 3 days after I made this other soap. The only difference is that in this case the activated charcoal powder was just a little bit small. I use 1 spoonful of activated charcoal soap for this recipe. So usually that's what I use. I use a spoonful for 1 soap mold. So in this case, I think it was a little bit small, but this is how the soap looks like. And so the black in this is not as vibrant as the black in the other one that I showed, but I also just wanted to show you the cuts of the soap, you know, so you can also, so it's the same design, same technique. It's just that this butter also thickened up a bit faster, and so the pour wasn't as smooth as the first one, but it's the same thing. Nothing really changed. Same design, same, yeah, still looks the same. So because the activated charcoal soap was small, and also because the butter thickened up on me, the design, the lines don't really show as much as the first one, but they look similar, and you can tell it's the same design. So I just wanted to show you this cut briefly, so you have an appreciation of how the cuts looks like. But let me just do the entire thing, and then we can go on to show the oxidation process. Okay, so this is how these look like. They also look very, very nice, but I prefer the first one over this one, well, for obvious reasons, but I prefer the first one over this one. Now let's look at the soap that we've made 3 days, the one that we saw 3 days after. Have you seen the brown has now quite visible? It's not the same. And look at the difference between 3 days ago soap and then these ones. These ones, there's no discoloration yet, so they still look intact. But look at this one, and you can see the brown patches quite visible and very beautiful, and I like the outcome. So this was what I was going for, and this looks exceptionally beautiful, like well executed. So thank you very much for staying tuned. If you're a beginner, you're learning how to make soap, I hope this video has been very helpful. Try your hands on this and let me know how it goes. Kindly subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Thank you.